You know, the thing that PlayStation and Microsoft don't want you to hear and don't want you to think about, and without going into rampant fanboyism here, I think it's really interesting to look at some of the numbers and look at, we talked about not too long ago, the regulatory bodies that are looking into the Microsoft Activision acquisition situation basically took Nintendo and took them right off the table. They said, we are not going to consider Nintendo's sales or Nintendo's, first party output or whatever, because Nintendo does not play in the same leagues as PlayStation and Xbox. They're not a, ultra high definition console. It's sort of last gen tech. So these major regulatory bodies took one of the most successful video game companies in the world and just took them off the table and said, we're not going to think about that. But you know what the really interesting thing is when you look at it? There are so many statistics to say that Nintendo in so many ways is a major player in the industry. A very major player. It's interesting, I was talking to some people on Twitter who were talking about, how amazing PlayStation first party, they're the most well-respected, well-loved games in the industry, and that Microsoft can't compare and Nintendo can't compare. And you know what? I'm not here to take away your joy for loving something, because I love PlayStation exclusives too. I'm looking forward to playing. I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn right now on PC. I'm looking forward to playing the God of War. I haven't played the new ones yet, but I know that they're amazing. So many people recommend them. But you know what? Most of those games have not sold anywhere near what recent games on the Nintendo Switch have sold. Did you know? And again, let's try not to be fanboys here. We're not console warring, but I want you to realize that Nintendo is a very legitimate part of the gaming industry and not just a casual kiddie console. Nintendo has 7 and soon to be 8 by the looks of the sales of Tears of the Kingdom. It looks like Nintendo is going to have 8 titles just on the Nintendo Switch, which have sold more than 20 million copies. One of the lower selling of those is Smash Bros. Ultimate, which has sold about 25 million copies. Now, for reference, PlayStation does not have, to my knowledge, does not have one game on the PS5 and probably not on the PS4 that has ever hit 20 million. I think the highest selling game on the PS4 was Spider-Man 2018, or maybe it was God of Ragnarok on the PS5, but we're looking at close to 20 million. Now, it's not a competition. PS5 is fantastic. I love PlayStation stuff, but we've got to realize that just by looking at these numbers, Nintendo has crossed 1 billion units of software sold this generation, and that's fantastic. Now, Sony has crossed 1 billion units of software sold before as well, but it's really interesting to note that Nintendo has done this for the first time, which means they are doing something very right this generation. The Nintendo Switch has made a lot of people happy, and it has brought a lot of people back into Nintendo's arms, so to speak. They have a huge install base, approaching 125, 130 million Switches sold. Now, I imagine a lot of people have more than one Switch in their household, so I'm thinking that's not 120 or 130 million unique households, because a lot of people have individual Switches for each of their kids and that sort of thing. But I don't know, guys, what do you think? Because it's really interesting to look at some of these major players. You look at something like Tears of the Kingdom coming out 2 weeks ago, and after 3 days selling 10 million copies. It's probably more than doubled that, or close to doubled that. I am betting it's getting close to that 20 million mark, and they're going to make another announcement pretty darn soon. Will it be the fastest selling game in Nintendo history? I don't know, but it's already the fastest selling game in Zelda history, so take that for what you will. We look at some of the games like the Pokemon games, which there are so much backlash about the quality of the recent Pokemon games, and honestly, I don't think we've had a really smooth Pokemon game since the 3DS, and they're still riding on the hype and the love for that franchise and selling millions and millions and millions of copies. The most recent Pokemon game, probably sold more than any of the big titles that you associate with, the PlayStation, for example. I'm pretty sure that just about any Pokemon game has sold more than Horizon Zero Dawn. Does that mean it's a better game? Absolutely not. These Pokemon games are trash, but Nintendo knows how to get software into people's hands. And, Pokemon is just one prime example of the fact that if you offer a product that people love, which people love Pokemon, people love Mario, people love Zelda, and if you consistently offer those products on an innovative product like the Nintendo Switch, people are going to buy it. They're going to buy it and buy it and buy it. And, sure, people are going to buy PS5s. People are going to buy God of War games and Horizon games and Ratchet and Clank games, and that's fine. It's not to say that one is better than the other, but it is really interesting to note that while most of the gaming industry seems to discount the Switch as a casual platform or a kiddie platform, it's not worth considering when we're talking about big boy games like Call of Duty or something. Meanwhile, Nintendo's over here outselling everybody time after time after time after time, making fantastic quality titles like the Metroid Prime Remaster, which is one of the highest rated games on Metacritic this year, and Tears of the Kingdom, which is one of the highest rated games on Metacritic this year. Both of those will probably be in Game of the Year discussions. So, what do you think, man? Like, am I crazy to acknowledge that Nintendo is a major player in the industry at this point, or should we just discount them as appealing to the casual audience only and, continue to think of platforms like Microsoft with their PC and their Xbox and Sony with their PS5? Is that the legitimate gaming platforms? Is that where the real gamers go? I don't know. I think there are plenty of real gamers who love their Nintendo Switch more than most any other console that has ever existed. It's definitely in my top 2 or 3 favorite consoles of all time. I actually owned a PS5 for a while, and you know what? I sold it. There just wasn't enough going on the console with first-party exclusives to keep me interested. So I sold it and I bought a Steam Deck, and I invested a little bit more in PC and, got a decent video card and that sort of thing. And now I'm pretty happy with my access to modern AAA games. For the most part, I might have to wait a little while for those PlayStation games to come to PC, but so many of the third-party games release day and date on PC and are often, not always, but often the better versions. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments if you think Nintendo is a legitimate part of the gaming industry, worthy of some respect, or whether you think they're just a casual kiddie console that you think is overhyped and oversaturated, and you just kind of want it to go away like these regulators looking at the Microsoft Activision deal. Let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay classy.